So we are ready to go and turn ourselves in now.
Guilty as charged. Young lady, step over there, please, with your bag.
Definitely guilty.
Congressman said that those who are helping the people of Gaza should be charged and prosecuted. We are here to make that easier for him by turning ourselves in and say we are very proud of having helped the people of Gaza. When there is a humanitarian crisis, the conscience of the world should stand up. People should do something. And the people who are standing here are people who have done something. And the people who have come to support us are people who understand when there is suffering, when there is an illegal blockade, when a nation that is an ally of the United States that is getting our tax money like Israel is committing illegal acts, then it is our responsibility to stand up and say no. We say no more tax dollars going to Israel, no more supporting of Israeli crimes. We call what Israel is doing in Gaza and what Israel did on the high seas terrorism. No more support for Israeli terrorism. And if Brad Sherman has it so backwards that he thinks that people who are supporting a humanitarian cause ought to go to jail, then we are here to turn ourselves in.
I'd like to say something as someone who lives in that district. Please do not let this lunatic reflect on the people of Los Angeles, California, and the Valley. I've worked for 20 years in the film and television industry in that district. And this man does not speak for the mainstream people, the people of our district. We're completely surrounded by AIPAC money in our district, and we're going to be voting for $3.9 billion in military aid shortly. They're going to rearm the military. Every time Israel pulls off one of these stunts, spends a bit of its military, like as in Gaza, we seem to pay them off. We seem to give them a bonus check of, now it's going to be $3.9 billion. I'm surrounded in my area by Brad Sherman, Howard Berman, Henry Waxman, Jane Harmon, and Adam Schiff, and every single one of them is bought and paid for by AIPAC money. They wouldn't be where they are without AIPAC money.
A ship to Gaza, Sweden, a ship to Gaza, Greece. We were joined on this flotilla by over 30 members of parliament across Europe and Asia, by over 70 international journalists. To say that these people should be permanently barred from the United States and that all of us should go to jail is absolutely outrageous, and Representative Sherman needs to be called on.
Yes. But I want to remind you that President Obama is meeting with the head of the Palestinian Authority, and they're talking about ways to ease the restrictions on the blockade to Gaza, but they refuse to talk to Hamas, and Hamas is the democratically elected government in Gaza. The U.S. has to start by talking to Hamas. That's the only way that there's going to be a real peace process. And it's also not about how to do a nicer, sweeter, gentler blockade. It's about lifting the blockade. The people of Gaza don't want to live from humanitarian aid. They don't want to be beggars from the international community. They're smart. They're business people. They're entrepreneurial. They want to have commerce just like anybody else. The blockade must be lifted, and they must be allowed to leave normal lives. So Amy, would you lead us?
Yes, great. It's just that I think that when the cameras are gone, that your story might change. So it would be nice if we could get a promise of a meeting right here and now, and we're happy to work with your scheduler.
I know the congressman has a schedule, a real scheduler. Are you a scheduler?
I promise you that Isidro will take the information, that we will follow what we do to make appointments for the congressman, and go from there.
Again, given the statements of the congressman, I'm not sure that I can trust you. I'm sorry.
I can't trust any of you to let me finish the sentence.
Please.
As a member of the Jewish community, because I know that the congressman is very involved with Jewish organizations.
What's your name?
And my name is Medea Benjamin, and I just gave all my information to the schedule there to get a meeting. And as I am an active member of the Jewish community, I feel compelled to help the people of Gaza because I care about Jews around the world and I care about Israel, and I think this present policy is leading to the destruction of Israel. I was at a press conference the other day, and I said that as a Jew, I have been involved in these activities. I've been to Gaza, I've taken food, medicines, toys for the children, and there was a woman in the audience who started to cry, and she was a journalist from Indonesia, the largest Muslim country in the world, and she came up and held my hand after and said, "Thank you so much. I have begun to start hating all Jews, and I don't want to be a person who hates, and you have revived my faith in the Jewish people." So I want to meet with the congressman to talk about why I think the position he is taking is so bad for Israel and so bad for the Jewish people.
A few moments ago, we approached Representative Brad Sherman's office and attempted to voluntarily make ourselves available for arrest. Representative Sherman is a Democrat from California who has publicly called for our arrest under the 1996 Anti-Terrorism and Death Penalty Act. He believes that helping to take humanitarian aid to Gaza or opposing Israel's illegal blockade is a crime, and that the Americans participating in it should be prosecuted and put in jail. We were here to call his bluff. His office refused to arrest us. This means that his statement was nothing more than bluster. It was nothing more than a craven attempt by his office to grab headlines and publicity. This is completely outrageous. 9 of our colleagues were brutally murdered by Israeli military commandos aboard the relief ship Mavi Marmara on May 31st. For Representative Sherman to stand up and blame them for their own murders, blame them for being victims, and say that we are terrorists for trying to take aid to Gaza and for opposing those policies that are impoverishing Palestinians in the first place, it's unacceptable. Reverend Martin Luther King used to say that the arc of human history bends towards justice. And what we're trying to do is be part of that group helping to bend it that way.
I think we also have to recognize that it took the blood of 9 innocent people to open up the world's eyes to this tragedy that's been the siege, and that Israeli policy is unraveling now. And U.S. support for that policy is changing as we speak, while President Obama is having meetings today and is taking the line of Hillary Clinton that says that the siege of Gaza is unsustainable. And he is now talking about finding other ways to make sure that goods can get into Gaza without arms going in. And that is totally what we are for. The borders of Gaza should be open. There should be inspections at the border, just like there are inspections on every border to make sure that there are not illegal transfers of arms shipments. So the fact that those meetings are going on today, the fact that the U.S. government recognizes that the siege is no longer sustainable, is thanks to the Freedom Flotilla and the fact that people put their bodies on the line and were unfortunately murdered for this policy to change.
Yes.
And let me tell you, it was unbelievable when finally all of the ships that were going to go on this, we had 2 of them were not there, 6 of them late in the afternoon, and all of a sudden the signal was, let's go. And to see all of those ships, it was really unbelievable, really unbelievable. And at night, as the darkness was coming on, you could see the lights on those ships. And you were thinking about all the people that were on those ships and all the stuff that had been collected from all over the world, millions of dollars that people had raised to go onto those ships.
Made you want to cry?
It was a real credit. It made me want to cry. Yeah, it did. So we've got to keep it up. We've got to keep forcing this issue. We've got to get more ships to go. We've got to get more people. There was not one person that I talked with in prison or on the planes going back to Turkey that said, I'll never do this again. Every single one of them said, I'm going back.
Including the widow.
Including the widow. That's right, she herself, as she was mourning in that prison, I mean, she was in the prison for about 30 hours. She had the bloody shirt of her husband that she had with her. And every single check that the Israelis did on us, which were about 10 of them, I mean, we couldn't go 10 feet without somebody else checking us. Well, I'll tell you what, when she had that shirt right there, not one of those Israelis had the nerve to say, I want that shirt. You cannot take that. She had it, and she was fierce. And she is fierce for the people of Gaza, and she will be back for the people of Gaza.
Thank you.
We got some good news today. The Army announced they're closing the Army Experience Center.